I had been exposed to homeschoolers when I was still single, and I saw some qualitative differences in some of the family life and some of the kids. So that intrigued me. But primarily it was that when we were overseas, we were in a formerly communist run country and still very socialist. And the education model there was very shame-based. And while we wanted to integrate into our host culture as much as possible, we didn't want to sacrifice our children. And so I'm very glad that it went that way, because even though in our host country, they're very good at a lot of things in their education system, they also have some really weird, according to my mind, ways of trying to motivate the kids. And one of them, just culture. You know how here in the States, you'll hear in some kind of a public presentation, oh, so-and-so is the top, student in this, in math or in this testing, or, get some kind of honor and a public recognition of that. In our host country, they would do the same, but they would also say the bottom students in that area. And that would be a public presentation about the failing students. And I suppose they were trying to motivate everybody not to have their name on that bottom list. But it was a very minor example of how education was not encouraging. It was pretty harsh. And also, we wanted to have more time with our kids, especially when they were younger, to be able to help form their character. Because whoever you hang out with is who you become like. And so while it's intimidating, and we know we're not the great models of everything we want our kids to be, in fact, that's one of the downsides of homeschooling, is that they reflect so clearly your weaknesses, and you can't avoid anymore that you do have responsibility, for some of the patterns that are becoming apparent in your life and their lives. But on the other hand, it's a privilege to say what matters to us and how are we going to make that a priority in our family life. But in order to do so, you've got to have time together. So especially as a Christian, for me, I can't disciple somebody that I don't spend time with. I needed more time. So that was one of the major motivators for me. I remember as a single woman, I didn't marry Doug. Well, I didn't get married. He's my first husband, my only husband. Anyway, I didn't marry him until I was almost 29. So we got a little bit later start on our family, and thinking, what's the best way to invest my life when I was still single and really had no assurance that I ever would be married. And I thought, I want to help people come to know Christ. But if I only have once a week for a half hour or an hour, or if I only have a year of investment into somebody's life, which is common, say, in youth ministry or something like that, that doesn't hurt, that can help. But what if you had 18 years, almost full time? And that kind of an investment in discipling people would have a much greater effect. So just on a very practical, strategy-based level, my thought was, I want a couple of really intense discipleship opportunities. I even prayed that I would have more boys than girls, because I see a dearth of godly men in the world. I'm sure some godly men say there's a dearth of godly women too. I get it. But I saw that there just weren't that many godly men. You agree. So I wanted to help raise some, if I could contribute that to the world. So that was a lot of my personal motivation.